This is the beautiful Verde River coming through just out near the outskirts of the town Rio Verde. Get it? It's a beautiful river and a beautiful riparian ecosystem. I mean, it's lush around here. There's nesting bald eagles on the east side of the river. That's that side. And it's just cottonwood city, sycamores, lush mesquites. Just, you wouldn't think you were really in a desert around here. But you can kind of see, as you kind of get over there, you'll see more of those mesquites in their high concentration. But these riparian areas, we've lost so many of them because of the damming of the rivers that we've done. And I don't know the answer to this, but I really do want to find out if there are solutions or proposals that anyone's put together of what it would look like if we did undam the river, the Salt River, if we undam the Colorado. I mean, I think under our current agricultural practices, we probably all starve, but if we do find a better way, I wonder if sometime in the future, if some of these riparian areas that have all dried up, now this one hasn't, but there used to be tons more of these riparian areas all throughout Arizona when the rivers ran free. And, imagine even right here in downtown Phoenix as the Salt River going through, if the river was going through, what kind of economy that would bring, what kind of even local agriculture could we be doing, more, closer to the river, and not just monoculture, flood irrigation kind of, ways to grow food, but by using polycultures and even some of our technologies, indoor growing, things like that. I mean, there's so many different ways. And again, not to condemn the old ways, because they've proven that they can feed the world, but they have not proven that they can do it indefinitely. And I think we've reached that point where we know. And man, imagine having places like this all throughout the Arizona again. It'd be beautiful. This is one of the most biodiverse spots in Arizona, along any of these rivers that are still flowing. They do find that around a lot of the reservoirs, even like Lake Powell and places like that, you don't get as much of that concentration of life. And those places receive huge amounts of evaporation from year to year. And so the water levels fluctuating so much that it's really hard for plant life to establish itself. Now, obviously, there's always like the floods to deal with, because before they dammed the rivers, human civilization would get flooded out. Now, I don't know the answer. Again, I'm just hypothesizing here, but my guess is some of the floodplains that we've created through our development has enabled us to, circumnavigate some of that flooding. And again, I don't know, what it would all look like, but I just wonder if there's a way to let the rivers flow again. And I know most people think that's crazy, and they think that there will just be, we should just be, my granddaddy was a cotton farmer, so we should just do that forever. Well, I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't. Especially as more and more people come to Arizona we have to view that right there, that water, as our greatest resource, you know. And unless we're going to put a cap on the amount of people that can move here, which I doubt that will happen. I'm not even sure that that's what we'd want to do, but if we do change the way that we live, then, you know, in terms of the amount of golf courses per person, maybe we need to limit that. Maybe we need to really look into the way we are growing our food. Not some condemnation of the way we're doing it, but just realizing that, hey man, we got to improvise here. We got to change with the times. And also be willing to admit where we've made mistakes and move forward from there with applicable solutions that will leave us on the land for generations to come. Because honestly, if your solution is just kicking the can down the road for future generations, then it's not a good solution. I'm sorry. It's not a good solution. But if your solution is bringing back more cottonwoods and sycamores and riparian areas, then I am liking what you're throwing down, my friend. There's actually so much food in a lot of the trees around here, especially mesquite. The pods that come out of mesquite, well, we can mill it into flour. That flour is actually far more nutritious than the flour that comes from, you know, the breadbasket of America. The flour coming from mesquite actually contains healthy amounts of protein. And that's pretty sweet, man. And speaking of sweet, it actually has a sweetness to it. And it'd be cool to see in the future, instead of maybe the pecan groves around here, we had mesquite groves where we're harvesting the pods and, you know, getting that into the bellies of the people around us. Anyway, I'm just dreaming of potentials of the future. And being here in Arizona, how can we work with the land to preserve ourselves and preserve the wild, and work accordingly? You know, I just see, I don't have all the answers myself, but I think there are people that have micro solutions, and as we combined all those micro solutions, we start realizing that it's actually a big giant macro solution. And we just have to be willing to be pliable, and to, you know, the willingness to change our ways if we want to stay here and be happy and healthy and really create that society that will be here for 7 generations to come. And you know, damming these rivers and pumping the water from underground is not a long-term solution. And if that is the current solution, then you know that it's short-term profiteering is behind it. And that's what we have with so much of the development in Arizona, and so much of the design that's gone into it. It's not a sustainable way. And eventually, if we're not careful, we're going to have a lot of issues of having to, you know, shut down cities in a sense because we're running out of water. God, that would be horrible. So with all these people coming here and all these homes being built, well then how can we do that in a way that makes the most sense for a future? Grow some trees, keep that rainwater on your property. Those are a couple of big solutions that are simple, low-tech solutions to keeping Arizona from further desertification. And when we dam these rivers, that's what's happening. I mean, all along the southern part of the Colorado River, these big groves of cottonwoods and sycamores are dying because the water isn't going there anymore. And that's a travesty, man. I mean, this is home. These trees are home to a lot of wildlife. And again, the more wildlife, when you really look at it, that's a good sign for us, because this wildlife is an integral part of our own survival. They're doing more for us than we realize. They're doing their role in the web, man, and that is vital. We're here at the Verde River, right near Rio Verde, the town of Rio Verde, just north of Fountain Hills, east of Scottsdale, right across the street from the McDowell Mountain Preserve. Come commune with this river if you get a chance. And while you're at it, maybe pick up some trash on your way. I think maybe it's time to do a Keep Arizona Wild river cleanup. Come down here and take care of business so that when people come down here, they really get that connection that we also need. I mean, part of the whole premise of my channel is to promote healing in the world, and I have found the way to heal myself has been to reconnect with the land that from which I came. You know, all of us, we all come from this. The matter in your body at one point was the matter in the ground here, okay? It's the water in the river is what made you and your mama and your mama's mama and so on and so forth. So, you know, this connection to the earth, getting us out of the cities and getting us back into quiet places will help us realize what we're all about, and really, you know, hopefully we will question the future of where we go as a people, and this economic system of endless consumption that we were born into. You know, none of us chose for this to be the way it is, at least as far as we know. But now that we are aware of it, you know, our actions are sustaining it. So it's like, and I don't mean that as some guilt trip, because that don't do shit, but as a means of just realizing, you know, maybe we are the generation that changes it, and we create a shift where, you know, we have all the things that we want in a way. You know, we have abundance, we have freedom. We don't have some big government telling us what to do, because maybe we're able to sustain ourselves in a way that, you know, we have communities, stronger communities that can help each other and sustain each other. And, you know, we can render this corporatocracy that we live in meaningless. And I don't know, man. I see that. I feel like that's a real possibility, and it takes generations to do, but somebody's got to do it. Verde River, come check it out. All along the riparian areas of the Sonoran Desert, you will find wild horses. And I can't remember how many there are, but there's a couple thousand all along the Verde River, Salt River. And I don't know about you, but I love the concept of free wild horses. And unfortunately, their kind are under attack by Bureau of Land Management. And every year they do massive purges of the wild horse population, because again, they think that they know how to regulate the populations better than nature itself. And these are beautiful animals, and the way they live wild is just fascinating. If you haven't seen, there's a PBS documentary about wild horses that I couldn't more highly recommend. And it explains the situation with the Bureau of Land Management, how they capture huge amounts of their populations, you know, breaking up children from their mothers in a sense, and you know, selling them off. They don't slaughter them, but they do sell them off. And I know there are many horse owners that are, you know, incredible human beings who work with their animals, and, you know, who are spending a lot of time with them and giving them really great environments. But man, there's a lot of people that just think that the idea of a horse is great, and then they, you know, get one, and it's just a lonely horse just sitting in a little small area. And look at these guys. And look at these guys. They live free. They get to mate. They get to fight each other. They get to survive on their own. They get to eat these rich grasses all along the river and live their horse life. And I don't know. I know they're trying to raise more cattle up in the, you know, in the western, you know, rocky areas, Wyoming, Colorado, and that's why they want to get rid of the wild horses, because they're competing with these you know, profit ventures. And I get it. I love hamburgers. So, but maybe in many ways I myself need to just kind of rethink my own behaviors. I mean, I'm not one who thinks everyone's got to be a vegetarian. I'm a meat eater myself, but you know, we have to think of things maybe in moderation, make sure moderation in all things, and then making sure that what we're eating is sourced well, and not, you know, the whole deal. Wild horses, Arizona. If you didn't know that, you should, because these are beautiful animals. And maybe I shouldn't go any closer. That's, I think, what he just said to me. Big beasts, and they're eating the mesquite pods as well, which is, like I was saying, high in protein. Later, guys. I hope I didn't scare you. Come on back. I'll take off. I'm just a messenger for the humans. Look at this. Lush riparian areas. We've had a lot of rain over the last 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, about over 2 inches. We're here in the beginning of December. I mean, look at that grass. Amazing. This is the desert, the Sonoran Desert. But you can see we're about, you know, a couple hundred yards off of the river, and you can see how massive some of these mesquite trees are. How much shade they provide, how much habitat they provide. You can see with these guys, they have such thick branches, they create just like a big green wall, well, brown wall of sticks. Great habitat for rabbits and coyotes and you name it. Man, some good deer food here. Looking at Four Peaks here, about 60 miles east of Phoenix. One of the quintessential landmarks of the Valley of the Sun, out on the east side. The tallest point is 7,600 feet, called Brown's Peak, or Point, one of the two. And oftentimes in the wintertime, when we get these cold fronts that blow through and then we get precipitation, those become snow-capped. Last year it happened many times from our El Nino year. Lots of different animal species all over that. Bears, coyotes, mountain lions, ringtail, the ringtail cats, skunks, you name it. It's a really awesome place, and it's really neat. By the time you reach the top, you're in pine tree country. So it's pretty awesome. It's one of the landmarks of the whole city. Beautiful.